Hello there, welcome to Inquiring Minds. My name is Doug and I'm back with another Pen Resurrection Sunday video. The pen back from the dead today is this 1948 Parker 51 Vacumatic in Cordovan Brown with a gold-filled cap. Most folks when browsing eBay for items will usually pass up things that are damaged, broken, scarred, or personalized. If you see a vintage fountain pen that has Harold Lipschitz III engraved on the barrel, you tend to shy away from bidding. However, once you have acquired the magic skill of erasing any of Harry's Lipschitz from the pen, then you can sometimes get that pen for a song. This pen was one of those. No, it didn't have a Harry engraving on it, but someone, for some reason, had taken what looks like a pair of pliers to the blind cap and scored a deep spiral gouge out of the plastic. The pen needed a new Vacumatic sack, and the cap was in dingy condition with a ding in the side. Others saw this listing and passed it by. I saw the listing and rubbed my hands together knowing it would be cool to see if I could restore it. So see what this pen looks like now in today's Pen Resurrection right now. So I took some pictures of this pen before I restored it, and it wasn't in bad shape. The cap is dingy and the section and the barrel have typical wear scratches on them. But the big issue with this pen, other than the lack of a functioning Vacumatic pump, was this huge, deep, spiral-shaped gouge on the blind cap. It truly looked like someone couldn't get the blind cap off and used a pair of pliers, and I was up for that challenge. I went at it with some 400 grit wet dry sandpaper and then ran through all of my micromesh grit levels, 2400, 3200, 4000, 6000, 8000, and then 12,000. Then I used a lot of Meguiar's Swirl Remover 2 polishing compound. The nice thing about Meguiar's is that it's silicone free. I use it on my nitrocellulose guitars to polish out light scratches. And here is the result. Look at this blind cap now as I turn it around here. There is one flaw you can see right here, and that is because whoever made the gouge used so much pressure, it created a pressure crack deep inside the plastic. You can't feel that on the surface. It is deep. I consider that a beauty mark now. I did make a mistake by working on the blind cap separate from the barrel. That created a rounded edge between the barrel and the cap that made that seam a lot more visible between the two. So I went at it again from 400 grit to 12,000 grit micromesh and then Meguiar's. And now that seam is almost back to normal. And I used Meguiar's on the gold-filled cap as well. You wouldn't do this with regular gold plate as it might wear through that plating. But gold fill is much more substantial and it came up gleaming. The cap has 3 small dents, one there, one under the clip, and one right there. And after I complete this video, I'm sending it off to my daughter Heather, who will perform her particular restoration magic to the dents. You see, she repairs musical instruments and takes dents out of trumpets, trombones, and tubas, which are constantly being abused by school kids. I might do a shorty video follow-up once I get it back. Once I had the section, barrel, and cap all gleaming, I applied a coating of Renaissance wax and buffed it to a shine. I did all of this while waiting for my supply of Vacumatic sacks to arrive. Now, once the sack arrived, I did a video of the sack replacement, and here that is right now. So after all the polishing I've done and cleaning, the pen looks very, very nice. Polished up that gold-filled cap nicely. Little bit of a dent there. And I covered the whole thing with Renaissance wax as well. I had a bit of a seam there, so I went back at it with micromesh and sandpaper and stuff. Let's put up a photo over here of what this blind cap looked like before I polished it up. You can see that that scar is almost gone. So now all we have to do is replace the sack. So I've got a sack here from 15 pens in Toronto, standard size, and I've got my removal tool from the Inky Nib and some pellet pushers from both the Inky Nib and from the Pendragon's. The Pendragon's pusher actually fits right inside that sack because it's the same diameter, so it actually helps in rolling back the sack. But the pellet pusher on this is a little bit deeper, and so I end up using both of them. So we'll take the blind cap off and get out our Inky Nib tool. Put that on the back of the Vacumatic. Screw it down tight. And then we can remove the Vacumatic pump, and there it is. It's in very good shape. We're going to take our pellet pusher and push it down into the pellet. And we're going to push that pellet. There we go. There we go. Now we have to cut this sack so that it is exactly 28.5 millimeters in length. So we're going to measure 28.5. I was doing them at 29, but I thought it was a little bit long. There, 28.5 to about there. Made a mark right there, and we'll just snip that off. There. It's looking pretty good now. I'll put the Pendragon's pusher inside there. I learned my lesson last time. I got some talc on the inside of that sack, and it didn't roll very nicely. So now I'm going to put some talc here on the outside. Now we're going to roll this back on itself until it gets to that ledge right there. Well, that was a challenge. I'm just going to put a little bit of silicone grease. So look, this is actually silicone oil, just to lubricate those threads. This is low viscosity silicone. It's actually for lubricating the gears of treadmills. You can get them at a hardware store. And we're going to put a little bit of that on the outside of that sack as well. Just makes it go into the barrel of the Vacumatic that much easier. There we go. Here's our barrel. Twist it around a little bit. Make sure it goes in straight. So I'm twisting it back and forth so it doesn't twist permanently there. There we go. Get those threads engaged. We put our tool back on. Actually, I don't even need to tighten it down because we're just going to hand tighten that. I think that's working fairly nicely. I think that pen's looking really, really nice. Look at that. Compared to what it was. Now all we have to do is ink it up. Seeing bubbles, that's always a good sign. I'll just pump it until there's no more bubbles. That's what she said. Hey, Bubbles, get over here.
Hey, what's a bath without Bubbles? Hey, Bubbles, come over here, will you? Well.
Now, let's see how this thing writes. I'd say that's a fine nib. Feedback, but very smooth and very wet. Okay, that's delightful. Very nice. Lovely pen. Very pleased. Now we just have to do the review. I reviewed the Parker 51 Vacumatic on several occasions, and you can watch my restoration review of this 1946 beauty by clicking right up here to get all those details. So I won't go over the parts and features or do a size comparison, but I will show some measurements right now and then come back with a writing sample for this gorgeous, newly undead Parker 51. And we're back with the writing portion of the review. This is Clairefontaine 90 GSM paper, and this is a 1948 Parker 51 Vacumatic, and it has a 14 karat gold fine nib. Let's check the wetness. It's delightfully wet. And I was very happy when I first inked this pen, as it is a very, very wet, fine nib. Often fine nibs aren't that wet. And it is smooth, smooth, smooth. Again, for a fine nib, it's lovely. And again, I didn't do anything to this nib other than polish it up. No tweaking, no micro mesh, nothing. And the ink today is, of course, Waterman's Serenity Blue pH 7. And there's no line variation as to be expected with these kinds of nibs. And the line this nib makes is a 0.3 millimeters, which makes it a Western XXF or a Japanese XF to F on my Richard Bender line width chart, which you can find linked in the description. And for our quote: and some reverse writing. Yeah, not so much. A little bit. Very thin, very dry. And some quick writing. No issues whatsoever. Nicely wet. So here are my thoughts on this resurrection. I pointed you towards the review of this pen, which is a 1946, and this one being a 1948. You notice there's a difference in the clips. There's a mixture of different clips from this blue diamond style to the newer Parker Arrow style that happened around 1948. And there was a mix and match back and forth. Some later models and earlier models had different clips on them, depending on what they had in stock. But they were phasing out the blue diamonds because of a court case in the United States that limited what companies could promise in terms of a lifetime guarantee. So they got rid of that lifetime guarantee blue diamond and put an arrow clip on it that they had used earlier on the Vacumatics. So this pen has the newer, older, whichever you want to call it, arrow clip on it, not the split arrow that the 1946 had. That's essentially the difference. But now to my thoughts on this pen resurrection. These resurrections are getting addictive. The feeling you get when you work on something and to bring it back to its former glory, and it actually turns out better than your expectations, is delightfully addictive. The moment I put this nib to paper and it wrote so magnificently and shone and sparkled in my hand, I immediately bid on an auction for 2 Parker Vacumatics to restore and won the auction. I mean, it could be worse. Instead of fixing a crack, I could be smoking crack. So there is that. But endorphins from accomplishments are the best kind of drugs. My dad used to say there was nothing like making a list of tasks and striking them off one by one. Accomplishments. Of course, I'm only showing you my successes. In last week's pen resurrection, I showed you my Eversharp Skyline that I completely restored before the ink window section and top of the barrel shattered in my hands while I was writing with it. I mean, I just pressed on the nib and the whole top part of the pen fell off.
Well, because the front fell off and 20,000 tonnes of crude oil spilled into the sea caught fire. It's a bit of a giveaway. I just like to make the point that that is not normal.
And I had a whole video planned for that, but never completed it. A viewer wanted to see that restoration anyway, even though it was a failure. So I'm considering it. Let me know what you think. Should I put that video together for one of these Pen Resurrection Sundays? Let me know. I mean, it will be very painful for me, but that might be entertaining for you, right? Sadists.
Black patent leather boots, SM. Love it.
And next Sunday is April 2nd, and this is no April Fool's joke. Next Sunday, instead of another pen resurrection, I'm going to showcase the pens I've restored that are going on sale in my first Great Undead Vintage Fountain Pen Sale. So make sure you mark your calendars for that. Better yet, like and subscribe and you'll get a notification when the video goes live. And please look in the description for a link to Goldspot Pens, as I'm now an affiliate of the online store, and when you shop at Goldspot using my link, you'll be supporting my channel as well at no extra charge to you. You can also join as a member of my channel for only 99 cents a month, and I guarantee I'll answer your comments in the comment section, and you'll get cool emojis, badges, and sneak peek unboxing videos as well. And that just leaves it for me to say thank you for watching. And that's all she wrote.
I made this.